Wow, wow, wow. This is crazy.
Jason Arday, who was Cambridge University's youngest black professor ever, has been found dead a week after he resigned amid plagiarism allegations. Investigators say the circumstances of the 41-year-old's death do not appear to be suspicious. The BBC's Helena Wilkinson has the very latest.
3 years ago, Jason Arday made history, becoming Cambridge University's youngest ever black professor. But earlier this month, he was at the centre of a plagiarism row. And last week, he quit his role with immediate effect. Tonight, it's been confirmed that Professor Jason Arday has been found dead. In a statement, the Metropolitan Police said they were called by the London Ambulance Service this afternoon following a report that a man had been found unresponsive inside a property. Sadly, a 41-year-old man was pronounced dead at the scene. His next of kin have been informed and are being supported by officers.
We just talked about this individual just a couple of days ago. It's crazy. He's 41 years old, the same age as I am. He was basically caught fabricating a lot of his life to make it seem more attractive for audiences, for recognition, to get this position as the Cambridge youngest black professor. And the fact that he's passed away, police are saying that it's not suspicious. It looks like he may have self-deleted, just couldn't handle all of the issues, all the press. The fact he got caught with a lot of the plagiarism, a lot of the fabrication of the lies, that he decided he couldn't take it anymore.
Since his appointment as a Cambridge Professor of Sociology of Education in 2023, Professor Jason Arday regularly appeared in the media talking about a variety of subjects, from societal debates.
I think when we think about monarchy and we think about how we modernise the monarchy and how the monarchy...
to his personal journey into academia.
There's one thing you said to me which I never forgot, and it was when I was 22, and I said to you I was thinking about doing a PhD, and you said to me, like, you know, it would be the greatest story in the world if the kid who didn't know how to read and write was managed to get a PhD.
But there were recent allegations of plagiarism and questions about some of his achievements. He denied the claims. He admitted errors in his work, but said he had faced an unrelenting level of public scrutiny and personal attack and was not a liar. Some critics had said the treatment of him had been motivated by racism, but others said the claims of plagiarism were legitimate. In a statement tonight, Cambridge University said it was deeply saddened to hear the tragic news that Jason Arday has died. The Metropolitan Police said his death was being treated as unexpected, but is not believed to be suspicious.
I'm interested with that phrase. It seems like initially they're going to say there was some sort of self-inflicted issue with him. It's unfortunate that this man has passed away, but it seems like what probably happened was the weight of the scrutiny, the weight of everything that's kind of went down, that he was not able to handle it, and he decided to do this. I just found this out a few minutes ago. I actually sat down to have dinner and I saw the news and I said I couldn't believe it.
I hope he's at peace now. This is the news that the academic who resigned from University of Cambridge last week, Jason Arday, the former Cambridge professor, has been found dead.
First thing that came to me was, you know, the farce turns to horrible tragedy, as these things do. This was a narrative. We don't know, as you just said before, we don't know what has happened to Jason Arday. But if he has taken his own life, then we have to look very closely at DEI, I should say. Sorry. What it is, what it trades in, because it trades in vulnerable people, doesn't it? If you look at his history and you look at how he constructed his own history, the one thing that comes out of that is that he was a very vulnerable man, and it doesn't seem that anybody really cared about that because he was the hero, he was the poster boy.
And I want to stop it right here because I do find his point to be, even though it's a sad situation, I don't think anyone wants to see someone take themselves out that way. Obviously, suicide is a serious issue. We've probably all have known someone who has done that, and you would hope that they didn't. You would hope that they would have figured out a way to kind of keep going, even with Jason Arday, with the many, I guess, the fantasies that he constructed for himself, that he would eventually have been able to sit back and take accountability and realize I made some errors. Let me fix it. And you didn't have to do this. Again, if we're saying this is what he's done, it's not, I guess you could say it's somewhat official, but it's still speculation that he would have been able to fix it. I do believe in second chances. I do believe that people can make a big mistake and be able to move on. And people were able to move on too, with the fact that he had so much issues and he, like what this individual saying, constructed his life in a way to make himself the hero, to make himself, apparently he wasn't able to speak until he was a teenager, wasn't able to read. And then out of a sudden, he's been able to become the youngest black professor in Cambridge. And that probably became his identity. The problem is that became his identity, but it wasn't a real identity because he was lying. He was taking things from other people to construct this crazy tale that was too good to be true. Once those lies started to pile up and those cards started to fall down, he realized that he didn't want to embrace the accountability. He didn't want to embrace the scrutiny. That's the only thing I can think of at this moment.
It was DEI trademark, as it were, and he was valuable in that respect. I can't imagine what he's gone through. Now, we've all been talking about this all of last week, myself included. One of the things I said towards the end of last week was that this really isn't about him anymore. This is about Cambridge. This is about the ideology, and this is about the institutions, because this stuff has poisoned the institutions. We don't think in terms of meritocracy anymore. We think in terms of skin color and neurodiversity and sexuality. It's all wrong.
And I understand that, and I actually do agree. I still believe it's the individual. Jason Arday knew, he had to have known what he was doing. Now, what he's saying is an institution that probably should have put more checks, maybe check his background to verify certain things before you give him the position, just like anyone else. Instead of just looking at him and his skin color, to really put in the effort to figure out, does he deserve to be there? Beyond just being a black person, being neurodivergent, trying to check the boxes so your institution looks good. This is a tragedy on all fronts, that this individual was not able to handle all this and decided to, again, like we're saying, I don't know if it's official yet, but has self-deleted.
And Jason Arday's fate, if he has taken his own life, is just utterly appalling, tragic, and shocking.
Can I just read you something that has come through from Bob in Chelmsford, which I think is a very, very good and very telling and very sober message on all of this. It is very shocking, but I'm afraid I'm not entirely surprised. His fall from that very high pedestal, says Bob, was so great, I imagine he felt he had no other way out. I do wonder what part we've all played in fueling the fire around this story. Different circumstances, but it reminds me of the awful tragedy of Caroline Flack. We have discussed this in great depth on this programme, on lots of other programmes. He has been, a figure of fun, certainly, and he has been someone whose fantastical, ridiculous, false claims have been probed from basically every angle over the last few weeks. What is I'm going to speak to a psychotherapist about this in a minute, but I just wonder, when you are at the centre of this kind of storm, when this is happening and you're being essentially cancelled to some degree, when there's a huge left-right divide, I would argue as well, Philip, and I think you've talked about that, or at least hinted at that, on the DEI side of things. How do you think, we as a society should handle these things, whilst having rigour, having questioning, having journalism, having critical thinking, but at the same time thinking, there's a person at the centre of all this?
I think the difficulty is, Peter, that it's all so new to us. 10, 15, 20 years ago, certainly, we did deal in meritocracy, and that has gone by the wayside. So we have this complex fantasy construction of all of these characteristics that we have to think about, and how how much they're worth on their own, how much they're worth in relation to other characteristics, you know, whether you're black, whether you're gay, whether you're trans, whether you know, all of these things, we need to put it under a microscope, and we need to just say, no, this is very, very dangerous stuff, not least because we don't know about it.
Well, I think when it comes to social media, and you have constructed this identity and it's being destroyed through that social media, because what built him up using the internet was bringing him down. I guess he was not able to find the right kind of people to sit him down, to let him know things are bad right now. You have to take accountability for what you did, but you don't have to sit there and watch it. You don't have to be there logging in to see your name. You shouldn't Google your name, especially when you are doing something you got caught doing wrong. And that probably never happened. He probably was thinking, this is probably the end. This is the end for me. There's nothing I can do to fix it. And if he would have had someone important to him talking to him to let him know, like, things are really bad right now, but this is not the end. You didn't assault anyone. You didn't kill anybody. Yes, you made a big mistake. Yes, you quit your job. You probably shouldn't have been there in the first place, but you can fix this. Like, this was a fixable situation. And a lot of people can look at this and say, you know, the Cambridge was wrong for not vetting him properly. Obviously him. I still think it's the individual who decided to do this. Jason Arday knew right from wrong. He knew the kind of story that he was constructing that was going to bring him the type of attention that built him up online. So it only works when people start to probe and go into your life and see what you've done that's not true. Then obviously people are going to go and scrutinize everything that you're doing. But it's a really wild, sad story. I think, you know, even despite the lies and the manipulation, you wouldn't want someone to do this to themselves. You want them to actually kind of learn from this and become a better person. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.